Minka Fitzpatrick, Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think Caleb Downs might be the next one. The buzz out of Tuscaloosa about him is loud. And Saban's, he seems lately to kind of tamp it down a little bit, but there's a ton of opportunity at safety for Downs to step in and make an impact. He's the number one safety in this class. Young DBs can succeed in this defense. I think there's this perception, and it is true that Alabama's defense is very complex and difficult, and you got to do a lot of different things. But one of Caleb Downs' biggest assets is his brain. He is big at 203 pounds. I think he'll probably get bigger just by way of being in a power conference program, as most guys do. But that biggest asset is his brain. He can read and react, and far beyond his years. Look out for him. I think he's the guy that you could be talking about as, hey, this guy is a true freshman, and he might be one of the best players on this Alabama defense. Certainly I think, Jordan Battle's gotten a lot of headlines coming in, but Nick Saban has a pretty good track record with freshman DBs, and I think Downs is going to be the next one.
Yeah, Georgia was going after him too. They got Joenel Aguero as kind of they would have taken both, but they got Aguero, another 5-star out of Massachusetts. It's kind of a, consolation prize. If you're going to start at Alabama as a freshman on defense, it's the same thing as at Georgia, where for all the great recruiting they do, the luxury of stacking great recruiting classes on top of each other is you don't have to throw a lot of these guys in there right away. Like they come in as a 5-star freshman or top 100 ranked freshman or whatever, but you get to develop more because you don't have to start right away because you've got another 5-star or top 100 guy ahead of you from a previous class, and he had to wait. And that's why Alabama and Georgia have become the machines that they are. That's why Alabama's been the machine, why Georgia is the machine, is because they do that over and over, which is to say, when a guy starts right away as a freshman. Now, I've seen freshmen start at cornerback. Tyson Campbell, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, started as a freshman at Georgia, and they eventually had to pull him. Cornerback is a tough spot when you're young, but safety's more interesting. Malachi Starks was a freshman starter in the latter half of last year at Georgia, and actually he had some bad moments. Like there were some times that do you remember, was it the second half of the SEC championship when Garrett Nussmeier is
lit him up
and down the field, and the camera was focused on Kelee Ringo a few times after the play, and so a lot of fans naturally assume, Ringo was the one who got beat because he was the one in the screen. Well, actually, Ringo was coming over, and it was actually Starks's play.
He tried to pass a guy off, and Starks is not there.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Well, Downs has to allay any concerns from Saban and defensive staff there that there would be any situations, some freshman mistakes like that. But he's going to be a hell of a player, and like I said, everyone in America wanted him.
For the brief 30 seconds where the national championship was competitive, who blew that coverage in the first quarter against TCU? Was that Starks as well?
Might have been. I don't even remember the play. It was. I don't know. I should remember the 7 from 65 to 7, but I don't.
Well, he didn't quite get in the end zone, as I recall. I think he got tackled at like the 10, but it was like you just don't see Georgia bust very often. So when you do, and it's in that stage, and it's against a team like TCU, who everybody just thinks they're going to manhandle.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, okay.
And to be fair, as I'm maligning Malachi Starks, he also made the play of Georgia's regular season when he ran down the Missouri player at the 1. And I think it was 13-3. I want to say at that point, it was something like that. And it was one of those plays where you're like, well, it's just, delaying the inevitable. But no, they didn't score at the goal line with 3 chances. And believe had to settle for a field goal. Didn't have 5 downs in that game. And Georgia ended up winning. Now, it might have, you never know, might have won without it, but Malachi Starks made a great heady play like that, but struggled a little bit later in the year in pass coverage. Of course, when another team is throwing up and down the field the way an LSU is, because they know they've got no other prayer,
Yeah.
you know, the percentages are higher. You're going to give up a play here or there.